Good morning to all of you. Thank you for inviting me to this Standard Bank Top Women's Virtual Conference 2020. I'm extremely happy to be talking to you from long distance. It is very important for us in these times to look after ourselves, our families, and also the communities that we are living in. Because these are not normal times. Generations have never ever experienced, almost like whole of the century, this kind of a pandemic, this serious crisis that the globe is facing. And consequence of this is being on every which way, on environment, on economy, on employment, and much more than anything else. In this situation, women are suffering much more than anybody else, because not just that their double and triple burden of household work has increased, they've lost jobs, they've lost livelihoods, they have become unemployed, and also on the top of everything, we are getting to know from every which part of the world that women are facing more and more violence. One common thing that everybody knows today is about that this pandemic has not been looked at from gender lens. Nations are not prepared, the governments are not prepared to address the issues which are really troubling women at the moment. It's not normal period that we all are witnessing. But one thing that we have all learned during this period is the resilience that women have shown, the leadership that women have shown. It's not for nothing that so much of report is coming from the countries where women are leaders, dealing with every emergency in a way in which they can save lives. Lives matter to women much more than anybody, because they are the ones who give life. And that is the reason we are looking at the question of how we can bring women to the table, how we can bring women to the seat of power, and how we can really accelerate women's leadership. It is not really normal today that after years and years of I belong to the biggest democracy of the world, and also that we are independent for last 74 years. But when you look at the way women are being treated, the way women are facing the violence, women are facing discrimination, exploitation, oppression, then it's really unbelievable that we have not prepared ourselves as a democratic nation, as rule of law, as really swearing by a constitution which is one of the best constitutions in the world, not reaching out. We have even I'm sure you must have heard of the problem like gender-based sex selection in India, where a lot of female fetuses are getting aborted, girls are not given right to life, and that's where the problem is. And this problem can only be handled and can only be tackled, and we can only win this battle of gender inequality, and we can only get the rights to women by getting women into the leadership positions. If that is not going to happen, I was part of the Nairobi conference, then I was also in Beijing, where we all discovered the pathetic situation, whether it is law, whether it is health, whether it is education, employment, every which sector we looked, it all looked so difficult for women. Everywhere women looked like sufferers, losers. Women were really not getting the kind of attention that they should get. So, Beijing, we realized that only 10% women, 10.5% women are in leadership positions. And today, of course, so much of work has gone on. Many countries have really come forward and have managed to accelerate the process whereby which women have come to leadership position. So I will not say that women are really have made no progress, or countries have not made any progress. But more and more women today are demanding equal power and representation in all spheres of life. Women are entering the job market in greater numbers and women are also more visible and active in politics. International organizations, in fact, I want to come to to talk about the United Nations, because it was a UN Women's Conference, and the resolve was, and I think by a resolution that UN General Assembly passed, it is known as resolution number 50/164, calling upon the Secretary General to have women hold 50% of managerial positions. But what is happening today? UN Secretariat had this promise to be fulfilled by 2020. This is the year. This is the time when they were supposed to fulfill the 50-50 gender balance in UN and UN related agencies. Although, women have progressed, women have come to positions, and they have played very, very important role in UN systems. But when you look at the 50-50, there is a lot to be said about. And I will just in a minute give you the data where we are in terms of what is happening to women in this global agency, upon which we look up to for getting every nation moved, mobilized, to get women equal leadership. Now, when you look at the gains made worldwide in women's leadership roles following the adoption of Beijing Platform for Action in 1995, 1 in 4 seats today are held worldwide by women in parliament, which is more than double the number of states held by women in 1995 when we met in Beijing. The global average of women in national assemblies is around 24.5%. While this is an improvement, and I'm emphasizing that because we have to be optimistic and we have to look at future which will be much more brighter than what we are looking at it at the moment. But underrepresentation of women in power and decision making is still the norm. Every country you look at, women are not getting enough support, women are not getting enough positions. And when you look at the democratic countries, then political parties basically are tools of patriarchy, because they are totally under the control of and under the male dominance. And that is why women do not get the post and the position that they are supposed to get. Worldwide, men are 75% of the parliamentarians, and they hold 73% of the managerial positions, and are 70% of climate negotiators, and women are almost negligible in terms of peace negotiations. So where are women? Where are women in terms of any critical role in decision making that is being played, or any critical decision that has been made across the globe? Where are women? That's our question today. That's what we have to really start focusing on. This is true of all sectors, including the development sector, where many women work at the entry level positions and gradually they drop out because there is no retention, there is no possibility of hanging on, holding on to their positions. Well, women are not there. Why? Because women are often discouraged from holding leadership positions by patriarchal attitudes and mindsets. We all know about it. It is still expected that a woman's place is in the home and not in making decisions. So never women's competence has been valued and understood and assessed. They're always looked down upon vis-a-vis men. Even when men are less educated, less experts, but when you have to compete with the man, you have to show double expertise. You have to work double hard to prove yourself. And this also has been the experience of my own life. And that's why I know for sure that, women really do not get that opportunity. Peripherally, ornamentally, maybe that some women are being put here and there to just prove the point that, look, we care and we want women here. But when it comes to voice, when it comes to real final clinching of any important decision, then women's voices are not heard, or they are not there at all. Now, when we look at the way women are presented with an opportunity to share household responsibilities, look at the COVID period. They are not only looking after the homes, they are looking after their work, they are looking after the communities, they are looking after the, whatever responsibility has been given, they are carrying it out as effectively. Of course, there is a talk about men sharing the responsibility. I'm not saying that they're not sharing it, but look at the crisis that women are facing in homes because men are sharing the responsibilities. So essentially, they are not sharing the responsibility with any willingness. In most of our countries, men are forced to share that responsibility. They have no other choice, and that is why they are at home trying to do things. Now, I just want to bring in my own South Asian context to you all, and I want to talk about what's happening in South Asia. In India, women's participation rate in formal sector was low prior to the pandemic, and it has become worse. In fact, as per Census 2011, the workforce participation rate of India was, for Indian women, was only 25.51%, which is less than other countries in South Asia. Forget about the global data. We are really at the bottom of the work participation rate. And last one decade, it has gone down further by 10%. So when you look at the workforce, women are really missing. Now in Bangladesh, Nepal, with the onset of the COVID-19, as jobs in formal sector shrink even further, women are likely to face even more gender-based discrimination, harassment at the workplace. We are filled with examples of the kind of sufferings, kind of discrimination and harassment that women are facing at the workplace. Now we're looking at the real possibility of sharper gender divides post-pandemic. That's our worry. That if we will not accelerate and we will not consciously push the institutions, the corporate, the UN, our governments, accelerate women's leadership post-pandemic, we are losing out already on the gains we have made, and it will become much, much more serious. That is why it is extremely important that women are pushed by a consciously organized strategy where we have to hold hands, we have to support each other's networks, we have to build the capacity of women to enter the decision-making processes and also to hold on to it, to be able to play the real politics. Don't shun politics, because if you will shun politics, you will never get there. And if you will not get there, your voices will never be heard. And that is why it is extremely important that women's leadership needs to be accelerated. The other way to accelerate leadership, other than we holding hands, we supporting networks, we promoting women's leadership in politics, we have to start pushing within our own governments, because the example is wherever there is a quota, wherever there was reservation. I know of South African example where you did make it a point to include it in the constitution post-independence that 33% seats will go to women, and today your parliament sees 33% women are there. But look, if you don't make those provisions, we are fighting for 28 years to get the bill passed in our parliament to get 33% reservation of seats in state assemblies and parliament. Never in history of parliament a bill has been pending for so long. Not even one bill is pending for 29 years. But this bill, where women will get equal, 1/3, not even equal was asked. Now, of course, we are not willing to compromise anymore, because it has to be gender balanced 50-50 wherever you look. Whether you look at the corporate boardrooms or you look at the parliament seats. Whether you look at the employment floors or whether you look at the university and academia. There's absolutely no compromise. But in our context, it has not worked so far. We haven't got our reservation bill passed. Myself, I've been working and struggling for 29 years to get this bill passed. So I have to just convey this message to all of you. There is only one way to get women there, is to get through quota or to get through reservation. Don't shy. Don't think that we are not going to ask for quota. Of course we will ask for, that is our democratic right to be there. We are voting, we are making these governments, we are helping, promoting all these men to become our leaders, to rule over us. So when will we start getting the opportunity to get there and to rule over? We don't want to rule over anybody. We want to rule for us. Because when we get into power, we will change the nature of the power. We will ensure that women, men, children get justice. We will ensure no inequality happens. We will ensure our climate and our planet is protected. We will ensure that everybody gets drinking water. That's the minimum that could have been done in so many years. But still, our population is deprived of drinking water. We will ensure that every child, girl or boy, gets into education in schools. We will ensure the biggest crisis today is that no country had created the kind of health infrastructure that was needed to deal with such a pandemic. Countries who are better prepared are doing better. In fact, countries better prepared were the countries where women have been leaders and women are in charge. And those countries really dealt with it better, but none of our countries, South countries, none of us were prepared with the health infrastructure that was needed. Community-based health infrastructure. And that's what we will do if we get into power. So I think we have to think differently. We have to strategize together, and we have to ensure that we work hard together. We are going to win this battle, and that's where the real equality will be realized. Thank you.